Okay, I think we're running. I will just turn this off. Okay. So, I've thought about in regards to this false doctrine that is promoted, and I've seen it with a lot of popular people out there that ends up teaching and thinking about the Jesuits and all that and how they, sent orders out to people that, Roman Catholics could be a Lutheran for a Lutheran and a Calvinist for a Calvinist, a Protestant for a Protestant and all that. They're on so many levels and all that. And yet, while teaching a lot of truth, even being a Roman Catholic in hiding, as they call it, a crypto Catholic, right? But anyway, being, a wolves in sheep clothing, they can get orders to teach a specific thing. So everything else pretty much they teach is pretty much, close to good, good stuff. And yet, there can be one specific thing that they are taught to teach from, from the superiors, whatever. But, for example, you have Dave Hunt, right? Dave Hunt, he knew a huge amount. I learned a huge amount from Dave Hunt coming out of the New Age and all that. And he wrote the book, A Woman Rides the Beast, right? Well, she actually sits on the 7 heads and all that. But anyway, he teaches that the Antichrist, which is the papacy, is the false prophet, and this is wrong. And with all the things that he knew, you how can you even imagine that a extraordinary clever person as Dave Hunt could believe that the so-called Pope is the false prophet? It doesn't make any sense. And of course, I've collected some of the anti-Catholic material from Dave Hunt and all that, and listened to his book in regards of A Woman Rides a Beast and all that. I have it on my webpage as well, read by Tom Fresh. But yeah, it's just, and that's just one, right? And these are one, extraordinary, those people that people know a lot about. And then we have John MacArthur, and he goes into a lot of truth, in some of his, and then all of a sudden he goes into this fallacy, and I just don't understand, just don't understand it, and then you had another guy that is also very popular on the internet. And he even, before him, I heard him in regards to speaking on his, radio show, talking about that the what do you call it, that he actually goes in and says, well, he will get a lot of heat for this, he knows that this is not a thing that and then he begins to say, well, he believes that the papacy is the false prophet. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, And then we have a third one that I just listened to, which name I can't remember either. I can, of course, figure that out. But it's just, you gotta be kidding me. This is not Protestant doctrine. This is not biblical doctrine. This is not prophetic doctrine. This is falsehood. The Antichrist is before the false prophet. How is that? Well, because the first beast gives its power and dominion to the second beast. So the first beast has to be there before the second the second beast, which is the false prophet. And of course it is. And it's so, it's just so in confusion, and it's just, yeah, anyway. I guess in regards of John MacArthur, my data information seemed to have Well, yeah, we have the Antichrist undermining the headship of Christ in regards of John MacArthur. Wonderful teaching, absolutely wonderful teaching. And then I'm not sure if I can find the other one I had. I deleted it. He just goes totally, totally off rail, and it's just very sad. So. And then we have, we have the last this, let's see if we can find the, it's very hard to remember all the things. There's so much nonsense. Oh, we actually have 4 people giving that a thumbs up. Interesting. Okay, anyway, let's see if I wrote back to one of them. Okay, yeah. So, let's see here, another one. Oh yeah, here we go. And this is wonderful teaching, the guy, John Munshi, wonderful teaching on the hall in regards of Rome, and he also goes into the Antichrist and all. He goes into the papacy, but he doesn't. He goes in and says, well, he doesn't believe that the papacy or the so-called Pope is the Antichrist. Again, you have all this good teaching around an hour or so, and then we turned around. Apparently we turned around here. There we go. And then they just sow it with this nonsense. Let's see if we can. Well, maybe we need to turn it around at some point. But yeah, let's see if we can. I guess maybe over here. There we go. But so you have a lot of good teaching, right? An hour or more of good teaching, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it, like it's number 5 here, he, the guy that had it actually, had the video that I found, actually had removed that snippet and linked to it if anyone wanted to listen to it. And he said he didn't agree to this doctrine. And no, I wouldn't agree with that doctrine either. Let's see if we can find it. Well.
Years ago, this Time Magazine company you see right there mentioned 50 years ago, folks.
But it's inside the teaching, so somewhere. Let's see if we can.
And he saith to me, of wisdom, keys. Now, what's very interesting is that the name, the Pope, is called the Vicar of Christ. Now, the word vicar is
I think it's here, but let's see.
Latin, from which you get the word vicarious, and it is anyone acting in the person of. So when you hear him referred to, of course, when he comes to America, they're always talking about the Holy Father has come, the Vicar of Christ. It's very interesting. If you take a study of the word Antichrist, immediately people think of being against Christ. They're anti-Christ. But you got to understand, we use the word antibiotics or some of these words like.
It's a little further in, I think the snake oil nonsense comes around.
It means something that is in a substance.
The poison.
Literally, Antichrist does not always mean someone against Christ, which that obviously is the case. But the Antichrist, in reality, as we've tried to show you before, is one who tries to be the great imposter. He's going to come as one as Christ. Now, let me clarify this real quickly here while it's on my mind. I do not believe the Pope is the Antichrist. I don't believe any Pope will be the Antichrist.
There we go. That's the poison. That's the poison, right? You have this guy making a, huge and wonderful teaching around an hour or so. And that's the poison. That's the poison. I don't believe that, that the Pope is the Antichrist, or any Pope for that matter. Oh, really? You don't believe that? and that's just, you have this guy, this is just one more guy, that is seemingly pretty highly educated, who knows a lot of stuff, really a good amount of good stuff. And then, right in the middle, fixes, I don't believe that the Pope is the Antichrist, right? And this is wonderful teaching that he has, and then all of a sudden they begin to this, and this is the same thing that Dave Hunt. I've listened to Dave Hunt 2 times. I've seen him, and then I've seen him get very close in regards of the Antichrist being the papacy, because with all the information he knows, he just points to, it points to the papacy. I think one of the things that I heard from Dave Hunt was in regards to Roman Catholics, when I think he got very, very close. And yet, that's not what he, one of the places that another place where he was talking, and he said, and he was beginning to go into it, and all of a sudden he was like, no, I don't mean that the papacy is the Antichrist, because he goes in to explain the word Antichrist. And he says, well, no, I don't mean that the Pope is the Antichrist. I think he's the false prophet, and then people laugh, and he makes it like it's a funny thing, right? And it's like, are you kidding me? This is standard biblical doctrine that the Pope is the Antichrist. It's a dynasty of men. So that's actually one of the wonderful things, having Tom Fresh reading the book of Dave Hunt, because Tom Fresh knows that the papacy is the Antichrist. And Tom Fresh also points out in when he reads the book of Dave Hunt in regards of a woman rides the beast, he points out the very specific point where Dave Hunt gets the closest to nearly saying that the papacy is Antichrist, but not seeing it, And I found there was another video, and I think it was in regards to where he attacks Roman Catholicism, and very, very, very close in regards to wording as well. And the same thing with John MacArthur. You have this wonderful teaching of John MacArthur in regards to John Huss, in regards of the head of the church and the Antichrist, in regards of Luther and John Knox, and this wonderful teaching that is just amazing, And then you see John MacArthur, another place, just go totally off trail in regards of the papacy. Although I must say I'm missing some information up in my brain in regards of John MacArthur. Apparently it's not in my grasp at the moment. But yeah, it's see if we can find Pope false prophet. Let's see here if we can find a source where he says it or something like that. But he does, speak against poobery, right? But then, as far as I recall, he promotes this other thing in regards of the false prophet. So, sadly, I don't have the video at the moment to refresh my memory. And I have a good amount of YouTube accounts now, so I don't know if I could. I guess, let's see here, YouTube Studio and all that. But you see this thing being promoted. So if you ever hear about that in regards of these biggies, and so we also had the other guy, right, in regards of this was John Munshi. I don't really know who John Munshi is. I don't know much about him, but he's, besides the issue on Antichrist, he had, this was a wonderful teaching that he made. Absolutely wonderful. Just in regards to this thing that, this thing in regards, if we listen to it again, it's just absolutely snake oil. We'll just take it again.
I do not believe the Pope is the Antichrist. I don't believe any Pope will be the Antichrist. Now, there's a chance that he could possibly be maybe the false prophet.
There we go. So what doctrine is he promoting? As far as I recall, he's promoting Jesuitical bullshit. So how is it that this guy can know so much about the Bible and the whole of Revelation and so forward, and yet promote this fallacy? It doesn't make any sense. And the same thing with Dave Hunt. Now, they might just have been deceived, but I'm like, how can you be deceived on this? The Bible is just so you have all the pieces, And if you can find out who the whole of the book of Revelation is, well, then you should be able to figure out that the poop is the Antichrist. Another guy, that was another guy. Let's see if we can find the name. I have it on my website. And these are, people that are known, well, pretty, at least, that have a following, that have people listening to them, and yet they make these incredible errors. Let's see the other guy here. See if we can find him. Let's see here. Antichrist, maybe I can. Antichrist, huh? Yeah, that's Michael Hoggart. Michael Hoggart rejecting the papacy as that Antichrist, and I have a link for that, it seemed. No, that was for his website. Maybe it's... We have a YouTube... Let's see, maybe that's only for his YouTube channel. Okay. So, apparently that's only for YouTube. Apparently the link must be broken then. And there's some problems in regards of the page. But yeah, one of the places that I heard him, and I wrote it down in the freshness of memory. He goes into this, oh, I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, and he says, but he did not believe that the Pope or the papacy was the Antichrist. He believed it to be the false prophet. Now I should have linked to the source, because it's always just easier to hear it from themselves. But it's just, it's just interesting that people who knows so much have been, and should be Protestants, right? And yet doesn't promote biblical doctrine, and yet promote Jesuitical nonsense, in regards to that he's the false prophet and we're awaiting the Antichrist and we do not know where he is and this and that and all that. It smells like Jesuits, what do you call it? Jesuitical, what is called Jesuitic. I'm not sure what the word in regards to how you say it, but at the moment, Jesuitism, Jesuiti, that's, yeah, anyway, it smells like the Jesuits. I don't have the video with John Mark Arthur, but again, you have to eat the meat and spit out the bones. I just don't understand how they could, when they speak about these things, they present a lot of information, and you're telling me they don't know who the Antichrist is? They're literally, they're literally pointing him out. And while they're pointing all these things out, or talking about the Antichrist and all that, they go back on that. They don't want to verify that the papacy is the Antichrist. It's an unpopular doctrine. Well, I don't care about that, Let's just be as unpopular as possible, The truth is the truth. Can't compromise on the truth. I wonder if Keith Green actually came to the realization that the papacy is the Antichrist as well. He absolutely understood the disgusting filth of this, sick system. He wrote this 4 chronicles, what is it called? What were they called? The Catholic Chronicles, which was taken off the market after he died. Interestingly enough. So the guy dies, and then his pamphlets about the subject is removed. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Okay, let's see here. Here he says the Antichrist is deceiving the world. That's in regards to John Mark Arthur, but I'm not entirely sure which video it was where he was really, going off in a very wrong path. So I have multiple videos of him, but I can't remember. I should have saved it in some sense, and but I saved the other one in some sense, which was very good in regards to Antichrist undermining the headship of Christ, and that's even Antichrist. Antichrist undermining the headship of Christ, and who is he pointing to? The papacy in this sermon, the papacy. So again, it's just weird. I wonder in regards to that other guy as well, if he pointed out the papacy as the Antichrist. I don't think he did either. That was I don't know. I learned things from him as well. You can learn a lot of things from a lot. That there's a lot of biblical things still being promoted by a lot of these people. And of course, you just have to eat the meat and spit out the bones and grow as you go. When I have a sermon from these guys, maybe it's on the other computer, but called something in regards to blood that I paid for. I actually should see if I could. That was with Dave Hunt and this other guy that was pretty popular. He's dead now. Oh, I don't have the keyboard on the other one. Okay. But they made in regards of all the disgusting things of the papacy, what it had done throughout these many hundreds of years and all that, and but I guess he might not say. I don't recall if he actually confirms that the papacy is the Antichrist. I think he might actually slick oil around that topic, but they have to speak about the subject still, because they have to have some credibility, right? And yet, so that was 4. Although I'm a little doubt in regards of the mock author, because my brain apparently doesn't have access to the information at the moment. But as far as I recall, he pointed out the papacy as the false prophet in one of his videos that I saw. So I see. Oh, here we go. See keyboard. Yep. So it's called The Kingdom of Blood, and it's from what is he called? Chuck Missler and Dave Hunt. It's 2 videos. I bought them from Chuck Missler's ministry, because everything that is anti-Catholic I'm interested in, because of course the devil have deceptions and issues on all levels and all that. So just because someone is anti-Catholic, could be still there could be still some issues where they're trying to but yeah, there's so much deception in this world. But that's Chuck Missler talking about the kingdom of blood in regards of let's see if we can get it. We don't have, well, it's on another computer, so it doesn't play on the speaker. But yeah, that's 2, and I should re-listen to those actually, because I had something, but then I got all the virus things on my computer, and everything pretty much stopped, and well, it just put me backwards on so many levels. Like, I didn't have enough things to do. Then all my data is just encrypted. Very annoying. But yeah, that was just 4 that I recall having some issues, and it's just, it's just sad. But anyway, that's not to say that you can learn a lot from these teachings anyway. But it is interesting that they are like sliding that, oh no, the Antichrist is not the papacy. This teaching from John Munchie is absolutely wonderful, and he talks about the papacy, all the system and all that, and and yet he goes into this, that he does not believe, and then he begins to promote the false prophet, like for example Dave Hunt, and it's just, and others in regards of promoting this, like what was the other guy called? So you have multiple people promoting this nonsense, and as far as I recall, it goes back to the Jesuits in regards of futurism. That's another good teaching on that as well, someplace in regards of what it actually promotes, in regards of the false prophet being the papacy. That takes away the truth. But whatever the case in regards of all this nonsense out there, we just stand on the Bible, and the Bible's points us to the Antichrist. And who is the Antichrist? Well, the papacy. I don't know if people are scared about saying it or something like that, but why it's so. Like, I have 650-page book up there from a Puritan who have collected so many sources throughout history in regards to who the Antichrist is, who the Christians believed Antichrist to be. Who do you think it was? The papacy, of course. I have the Waldensians document on that as well, which also might actually be confirmed in regards of maybe also being the Albigensians in regards of doctrine. I actually have it on I have a link on my webpage, I think, in regards of it. Yeah. Let's see here. Should be somewhere anyway. There's so many links and information on my webpage, so it's terrible. It's the brain can't follow along with all the things. Now, in regards of other people, like in creationism, we have some people that are really, really, really wonderful in creationism, and yet I don't actually know what John McKay actually believes on this topic. He usually is pretty upfront. I don't know what he actually talks about, or if he even talks about this subject. But a lot of these creationists usually are very strong in regards of creationism and less in regards. But this is something that we should all know. This is something that people were, teaching their children in first class, or the children was taught in first class. Who is the Antichrist? So. John McKay, let's see here, answers in Genesis. Well, I guess it's mostly in regards of John McKay. I get another guy up apparently in regards of John McKay. So, but I don't know what he actually believes about, but there's so many out there, right? But the papacy is the Antichrist, It's just interesting when these people are so-called, that should stand for truth, right? Biblical truth, and they just miss out on who the Antichrist is. I'm not sure about King Johnson either, if he actually verifies that the papacy is Antichrist, or if he shoots it in the future, but he do have teaching pointing to the papacy. The Book of Gad points further. You have so many puzzle pieces that points to the papacy being the Antichrist, and yet people want to run away from it. It's just absolutely ridiculous, This is standard doctrine, Here we have Patrick the Baptist, damnable Catholic heresies, and he's writing from a book, I think, written by a former Catholic, now you can't. Now the book is not sold, so you have to get it like second hand. But I have one copy of it. The papers didn't like it too much. Oh, here we go. Treaty on Antichrist, Waldenses and Albigenses, 12th century, or 12 AD. You have so much pointing to the papacy being the Antichrist. It's all over. And yet, the devil seems to work very hard to keep us away from it. So, if we do not keep the doctrine alive, we lose it. If we lose it, we return to Rome, what is this, Roman Church? Well, that's in regards to the Roman Church. In regards to the hierarchy, apparently, there's so many links and so many things and all that. I just wanted to talk a little about that. So, a lot of people out there that, just goes into that. Yeah, well, I don't believe the papacy is the Antichrist. I believe he's the false prophet. What are you talking about? Anyway, the Antichrist deceiving the world. It's just interesting, right? All these famous preachers and all that, and yet I don't know how you could have a sermon without mentioning the Antichrist at least once. When I write messages on my Facebook or something like that, it's very hard. Take that into account. Maybe it's in regards to the truth about hell. I'm not in regards to this. I don't know. No, it probably is. Maybe it's I'm here to offend you and with no, that was not it. I think. Maybe this one. No, it was a longer teaching from him in regards of John MacArthur. Well, how can a people that have a Bible in there, and have so much in our days, and yet not see who the Antichrist is, and even if they see it, they don't want to. So yeah, I don't get it. It's weird. It's very, very, very weird. Now, of course, it could be nice to know their background, right? Why have they been educated, right? Is there any Catholic link in their background? What be? This one is also breaking up. This is actually the first, sleeping mat of these kinds. I have this one, and this one. This was the first one, the standard one, then the first one that came out. Then this one was like another kind of, that should be better and all that. And then we have this one, and I have one down here as well. But as you can see, this is breaking apart. Now it is on top, but still, it shouldn't be breaking apart, and it is. Although this is the second one I got of these, the other one hasn't broken up, and that's the first one, but of course that is at the bottom, so I don't know why this apparently seemingly breaking apart more and more. Maybe it's because I'm laying here with my, I don't know, but it is breaking apart. It just began little by little to break. Much longer, I guess, at least not in this end of it. So, yeah. So the papacy is the Antichrist. And it's just something that is not spoken much about. Christian group that I have here on Facebook. We have, and that's always nice. We like that. Everything that is nice. But it's like you need to hear the people out, because people don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to know obvious what is going on. But yeah, anyway, my website, Jesus God, dividing line pope666.info has in the children and web links section a lot of people, a lot of links, and it's all free. If anyone wanna look around, right? But yeah. Here we have biblical scientific creation. Well, there wasn't there actually some links I had another place. Do you understand creation? Oh, that's in regards to creation. Now I understand we do have our different places of strength, right? What I do not understand is that how we could lose the doctrine, the standard valid doctrine of the papacy being Antichrist, and that no one want to speak about, or some people will slick oil into falsehood, The papacy is Antichrist. Why is that so problematic to stand on? Why is it that people do not want to know, or they're running away from it, or they are pushing slick oil? And why are these people out there pushing this snake oil when they clearly should know better in regards to those people pointing out the Roman Catholicism and the whole revelation and all that? How can they be so, it has to be, if they, they've gone through a lot of sources. They've listened to the Protestants that knew. They have, lots of teaching and all that, and yet they don't mention it. They don't confirm that this is, I don't understand it. Yes. Anyway, take care, all of you. I think that's enough for me. May Jehovah be with you, and Yeshua, most precious pearl, and the spirit of truth be in us all. Amen. Take care, all of you. That's all for me. No one listens anyway, right? I guess I should find another way, actually.